How to open up to your partner about mental health issues. In a perfect world, having discussions with your partner about typically anything would be as natural and uncomplicated as deciding what to have for dinner or what to do over the weekend. Conversations with your partner that are about speaking up about your mental health difficulties involve talking about the following topics: depression, anxiety, panic attacks, stress, and the likes. After all, each year, about 1 in every 5 persons living in the United States is diagnosed with a mental disease of some form. Conversations regarding mental illness, its symptoms, treatments, and causes, as well as the most effective ways to assist individuals who are affected, need to take place on a more regular basis due to the fact that mental illness is such a pervasive condition. They are not, however, because of the stigma that is attached to issues pertaining to mental health. It's painful to witness a partner struggle in a mental health depression, not to mention the pressure it may place on your relationship. And in a long-term relationship, it's likely to occur at one time or another. Therefore, if you find yourself in the same situation, you should be aware that there are resources available to you that may assist you in having a conversation with your partner about your mental health in a manner that is mutually beneficial to both of you. This is something that you should be aware of if you find yourself in the same situation. The following is a summary of some of the ways in which you and your spouse may be able to have a more honest conversation regarding your difficulties with mental health. Number 1, think about what could happen. Before bringing up your history of mental illness in a conversation with your spouse, it is very important to try to predict various reactions from your spouse. It is possible that having this conversation might be nerve-wracking, since you never know how the other person will react or if they will stick around. The way in which your spouse responds, and on the other hand, will provide you important information on who they are as a person and whether or not they will be there for you in the future to offer support. According to Steinhardt, it is helpful to know early on if a possible partner is not going to be a good match due to a lack of sensitivity, since this information may be gained through early conversations. Number 2, hold off till you're prepared. Each person is responsible for making their own decisions about their own mental health, including whether or not to disclose that they have mental health problems and whether or not to engage in open dialogue about their mental health. Nobody, not even a close friend or member of your family, can make you talk about your mental health without your will. Therefore, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, or NAMI, recommends that before beginning this conversation, you should know why you've chosen to do so at this moment. Do not make any attempts to force things and keep contact to a minimum until you are ready. Number 3, rehearse. If you feel unprepared for the chat, discussing it with a therapist or another mental health expert could be helpful. Concerns, questions, or comments that you may have about possible issues, feedback, or inquiries may be shared. Putting some of your ideas through a few dry runs will also help you improve your thinking process and ensure that you are speaking clearly enough for your partner to understand as much as they possibly can. Number 4, if you feel awkward communicating with a person face to face, try starting with text instead. According to Mental Health America, or MHA, a prominent community-based organization in the United States working to end the stigma associated with mental illness, you may depend on your phone if you're feeling overwhelmed, worried, or just plain uncomfortable having a face-to-face conversation. MHA's mission is to eliminate the negative connotations associated with mental illness. One alternative is to send a short text message along with a note that says something along the lines of, "I need to make time to talk to you about some important things on my mind." Number 5. Do this when you are in a good mood. You should choose a time when you are not actively suffering from mania, anxiety, despair, or psychosis, since this is the best time to take the test. It is vital that you feel calm and comfortable in order to convey how you are feeling about your mental health and to establish an environment that is beneficial for everyone involved. If you do not feel relaxed and comfortable, you will not be able to do either of those things. Number 6, explain yourself. When attempting to express what it's like to live with a mental illness, people often utilize metaphors such as heavy and drowning, amongst others. You can attempt to explain to a fish what it's like to drown, but it won't have any clue what you're talking about. I believed I was being quite honest, but he didn't grasp it. When you discuss this topic with your partner, you should use language that they can comprehend so that the discussion goes well. Number 7, study up on the subject. It is recommended by the group Mental Health America that you hunt for essential content online that may aid you in articulating what you are going through. You may get this information by searching the internet. If you and your partner are going to be communicating face to face, you may want to print out these references and have them nearby. Number 8, make use of the sandwich tactic. The sandwich method is emphasized as an excellent way to lessen the possible pain that your spouse may experience when you disclose that you have a mental condition. The sandwich technique comprises placing so-called bad news in between two pieces of good news in order to maximize its effectiveness. For instance, you might structure the discourse in the following manner. To begin, you should focus on the good aspects of your relationship. Tell your spouse that because of how much they mean to you and the support you provide them, you have to reveal something that might be challenging. After detailing your mental health issue, conclude on a more positive note by outlining what therapies you've followed, what has benefited you, and what you've learned about yourself and other people as a consequence of having a mental illness. Number 9, be as open as exposed as you possibly can. It is not always easy to be open about problems we are experiencing with our mental health, particularly with those who are closest to us. If your spouse is having trouble letting their guard down, you may set an example for them by doing so yourself. Tell them how you've been feeling, or if there's anything in particular that's been giving you a hard time, and they may find it easier to confide in you and talk about their own problems. Just be sure not to take over the discussion and make it all about you. Number 10, confirm their validity. When individuals are going through any type of difficulty, they want to be validated and to feel that they are seen, heard, and loved, regardless of the situation. Even whether they are experiencing fear, guilt, perplexity, or rage, validation helps people realize that there is nothing fundamentally wrong with either themselves or the experiences they are having. Use statements such as, "What you're saying and feeling are entirely understood," or "I can see your difficulty and how much effort you're giving." I can see your struggle and how much effort you are giving. It is never simple to be open about anything, but it is an even greater challenge to do so when the topic at hand is your mental condition or your mental being. It is such a challenging circumstance to be in, but it should be greatly expected, as there would actually come a moment when you needed to say it to your loved ones for support. Although it is tough to be in this scenario, it should be highly anticipated. Support is one of the most essential things that a person going through a difficult mental condition should have, particularly in males, since men are the cheapest when it comes to words. Support is one of the most important things that a person going through a difficult mental state should have. Having difficulties with one's mental health is never ever simple, but having a caring partner at one's side may make all the difference in the world. Being there for your spouse doesn't need you to be a licensed therapist, and ideally, the low point won't be permanent if you give it some time. As soon as you begin to see hints of blue sky up ahead, the two of you will feel more powerful than you ever have before.